Have you ever noticed that when you're told something that's meant to be top secret, it sounds way too unbelievable to be taken seriously in the slightest? Well, that's what Lincoln found out in the episode I'm going to talk about today. So join me as I, SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, bring you another retro review from past seasons of The Loud House. Cue the intro! Today's episode is not allowed. In this episode, Lincoln suspects his parents are hiding something when he asks about the day he was born and tries to uncover the truth when he notices his birth story is missing from his baby book. This episode is just beyond stupid, and I consider it among the worst for the second season. The biggest and most obvious reason for why this episode sucks would be the story Lincoln's parents tell him regarding the day he was born. Their car breaks down on their way to the hospital, and who decides to pull over and rescue them? The President and First Lady of the United States. Just come on now. This sounds like an idea straight out of a fanfiction story. Yeah, I know it's a cartoon and crazier things have happened in this series before, but at some point you have to be at least a little bit realistic in storytelling for certain situations such as this. Honestly, out of every human being on the planet to help these parents, why the president? He's the most powerful man in the world who needs to maintain a low profile when out in public, and usually only mingles with regular citizens at rallies or special events. Why exactly would he and the First Lady just randomly stop the motorcade on their pre-planned route to a top-secret safe house in Royal Woods and waste their time on someone whose car broke down, let alone trying to deliver a baby in the back of a government vehicle? I can't be the only one who thinks this story is way too contrived to be taken seriously. Plus, wouldn't this entire situation have been leaked to the press if someone possibly saw the Secret Service pulling up to someone's house? I'm pretty sure somebody would have noticed something like that and started asking questions and thus creating a lot of noise in the media. Also, why would POTUS and FLOTUS just go right back to the Loud House instead of, doing the safe and responsible thing by going straight to the hospital? A mother just gave birth, for cripe's sake. She would have needed some immediate and professional medical attention following that. Was this drop-off only done because the president and his wife didn't want to make a scene? I think they were already too late on that one. Now do you see how confusing and aggravating this all is? I highly doubt all the circumstances surrounding Lincoln's birth would have been kept secret for more than a day, let alone over a decade. I guess the only good things to come out of this extremely contrived backstory would be it proved Lincoln was not adopted like the fandom had once speculated, and the parents at least had the eagle blanket to validate what they were saying. But then again, if Lincoln's bizarre but true birth story was supposed to be kept secret due to security reasons, then why didn't the parents just make up a more believable story on the off chance their son asked about the day he was born? That would have made everything easier for everyone. Clearly the parents were caught off guard when Lincoln started asking questions about his birth, and both the mom and dad were giving completely different answers instead of settling on just one. It's like they never once thought their own son would ask them those kinds of questions at any point in time. It's no surprise Lincoln couldn't trust his parents to tell the truth and started asking his sisters about what happened 11 years ago. But because they were very young when he was born, they could only share what little and vague information they could remember. This prompted Lincoln into actually thinking that maybe his own birth was similar to the fictional births of a few characters from his DVD collection. This led to the running gag of doing field tests to see if he actually had superpowers like those fictional characters, and my god, this was just ridiculous. I mean, seriously, Lincoln and Clyde actually thought they could make a connection between the information they got from the girls, like a scientist stepping out of a car holding a newborn baby, and men in black suits surrounding the house, and then comparing said information to imaginary DVD movie characters. I mean, I can understand their reasoning, but it still sounds way too far-fetched. And it's bad enough Lincoln and Clyde did this superpower and alien testing 3 times in a row, all ending in complete and total failure, but they broke the rule of 3 at the last second by opting to do one more test towards the end when they still wanted to learn the mystery of Lincoln's white hair. And speaking of Clyde, why did he have to be involved in the conflict when he did absolutely nothing to help advance the plot? Lincoln could have gathered the clues and done all the field testing himself, and the same result would have been achieved no matter what. I know Clyde is his best friend, but always trying to shoehorn him into the story doesn't make the story any better. Regardless Regardless, he still appeared alongside Lincoln as they were going around town scouting a bunch of different families to see if Lincoln may have been switched at birth, something Luann thought might have been the case given the information she shared. In Lincoln's defense, when you look at that family with the white-haired parents and the daughter who had both the looks and mannerisms of the Loud sisters, I personally would not write off the idea of accidentally being brought home by the wrong family. However, it was later revealed Lincoln was in fact the biological son of Rita and Lynn Sr., and the parents were able to fill in the gaps regarding the birth information Lori, Lenny, Luna, and Luann brought up earlier. But because his birth story had to be kept confidential, he had nothing to use for his school report. So does that mean he had to take a failing grade? That seems to be the case. Overall, this episode has a brand of stupidity that makes you go from just groaning about it to full-blown hating it by the end. The writers came up with an idea that not only felt like it was taken directly from a fan-inspired story, but it's also way too outlandish to believe despite the parents proving its legitimacy. Honestly, if it's supposed to be real but you can't talk about it in public, then who in their right mind would actually believe it? Then again, it's too bizarre to believe even if the family was allowed to talk about it. The field test gag and the supposed connection Lincoln thought it had with what his sisters told him was mediocre. Clyde was just there for the sake of being there, and you're left feeling as if the writers were just too lazy to come up with a more believable birth story. Instead, they chose to be creative and interesting by coming up with an over-the-top story involving a powerful politician who just so happened to be in the area. And speaking of whom, I will end my random review with one piece of noteworthy trivia. Since this episode was made in the mid-2010s, and if you go back 11 years, it's assumed that people who helped bring Lincoln into the world were President George Bush and First Lady Laura Bush. Obviously, it's only speculation since we never see their heads and they're only referred to by their titles, but going based on historical accuracy, it's fair to say George and Laura Bush had a literal hand in Lincoln's birth. Other than that, the rest of this episode is just bad and stupid, and that's not a healthy combination. With that said, I give Not Allowed a 3.1 out of 10. Well folks, that concludes my review of Not Allowed. So I gotta ask, what did you guys think of this episode? Sound off in the comments below, and be sure to click that subscribe button for more Loud House related content. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys for the next video, but until then, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, signing off. Peace out, home slices.